And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes on this Monday. My name is Jeff Owens, Director at WEIU. Today we're going to be talking with Jennifer Tariq, Executive Director of the Douglas-Hart Nature Center. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
And making our initial appearance, Kennedi Mullen. She's a Whiteside garden horticulturist. I got it right.
Oh, yes.
So welcome, Kennedi and Jennifer. Great to see you on this holiday week. We're here at WEIU Radio. We're going to learn a little bit about stuff. So why don't we just talk about the foundation and the three properties and what Douglas-Hart is. We'll let Jennifer go.
Yeah, so Douglas-Hart Foundation is a non-private, private operating foundation, and we manage three properties here in Coles County. The first was Friendship Garden, started in 1963, and it's a urban garden on 17th and Lafayette, and a lot of people have lunches there. Believe it or not, people get married there. It's just a quaint little urban garden.
And every prom picture in Mattoon is taken there.
You are correct. Absolutely. Yes. But I think our newest property, Whiteside Garden, is going to give them a run for the money. We've got lots of homecoming and prom pictures happening there. We'll learn more about that later. But Douglas-Hart Nature Center started a few years later. It was a farm field. Our founder, Helen, acquired the land and said, you know, we need natural areas in our community. We have lots of farmland. She thought maybe Mattoon Charleston would develop on Route 16 and there wouldn't be these natural spaces. And she's not wrong. I can look from Douglas-Hart now and see new properties and businesses. And it's just kind of a weird feeling to be like, wow, there's development, which is good for our community. But I'm so thankful for Helen for preserving that 70 acres there where we do lots of programming, summer camps, winter camps, festivals, programming for all ages, of course. Most importantly, habitat improvement and conservation efforts for local wildlife. And then our newest property is the Whiteside Garden. It is a certified botanical garden and arboretum, and we acquired that in 2019.
And Kennedi, that's where you mainly work there. So what do you do there? And tell us a little bit about Whiteside.
I'm a horticulturalist out there, so I'm out there taking care of the plants. I'm out there if guests are out, have questions ever, I'm there to answer them. So as a horticulturalist, different from a botanist because I'm looking at the plants for their aesthetic value and how they can be pretty. That's what I'm into out there, how I can make it the prettiest. But yeah, Whiteside Garden was started it was purchased by Dr. Whiteside, who was a professor of botany at EIU in 1962. And so he would have started planting in 1963, the same year that Friendship Garden was started by Helen. So in Mattoon and Charleston, two different people decided that they were going to beautify their own area in their own different ways. But yeah, it's a 5-acre property of the botanical garden. So I say that title can be claimed by anybody, but we are also a certified arboretum. So that means that we have a certain amount of trees labeled. So if you're ever walking out there, a lot of our trees will be labeled so you know what you're looking at.
Okay, that's cool. Well, let's start off with Douglas-Hart a little bit with some of the things that are coming up over the winter. I know the first one is the Winter Wonderland and some other camps. So go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, Winter Wonderland Walk is coming up the second week of December. Runs from Thursday through Saturday from 5 to 7. And it's 20 different decorated themes or scenes from winter, Christmas, other cultures. It's free will donation, so we just ask that maybe you donate a little something to help support our mission. You get cocoa, but lots of classics like Rudolph, the Grinch, Charlie Brown, but we bring in some other stations, like we had a Christmas in July last year. We always add new stations, so we'll have kind of a pet-themed scene this year. It's great for photos. We use lots of lighting, so selfie stations, just a wonderful short, quick outdoor activity because our goal is to get you outdoors, definitely. Even in the cold months, go outside, get fresh air. It's good for you. And then, of course, winter break is coming up. So I'm a mom. I want an outlet for my kid to be active, not stuck at home the whole break or on technology. So winter break camps run very similar to our summer camps. We pride ourselves on keeping the kids engaged, learning even over the breaks, and we spend half our time outside. Now, winter break, maybe not 50% of the days outside, but we definitely still get them outdoors and exploring, right? One of our camps, for example, is on penguins. So they're going to be learning about penguins, like what's their habitat, what's their diet, playing some penguin games for sure. So definitely you don't want to wait on those. Those are going to fill up as well because, again, parents are looking for that outlet for kids to do over the winter break.
And the Homestead Conference is over the winter as well?
Yeah, well, it's coming up
Okay.
in February.
Okay.
Last year, actually this year was technically our first year of the Homestead Conference. We had over 60 registrants attend the Homestead Conference. Right now, if you are into homesteading, so how best to use the land, if you're thinking about growing your own foods, like no chemicals, things like that, and you're I'm kind of a homesteader, raising your own animals, we are looking for presenters right now, so you can apply to present at our conference, but the actual event will be in February. So registration for that will open in the new year.
It's funny you talk about raising your own animals. I found out this morning that one of our engineers has 23 chickens. He's a chicken farmer on the side, and we didn't know that. He never told us till today, so it's weird how things come together. Let's switch over to a little bit to Whiteside, some of your events over the winter. The one that got my attention, of course, was Botanical Cocktails.
Yes, that was a very exciting event that started this year. We've had 2 so far. We're doing them seasonally. It's just a way to get the community out, and if they're like, what is a botanical garden? Well, you can come out and we'll show you, and we'll have a couple of drinks while we walk around and talk about it. So our next botanical cocktail event is going to be in January, so the colder months, but we're going to do a little bit of inside next to the fireplace and then go back outside to talk about the plants while we sip on our drinks. But yeah, that event started in June of this year, so we're only starting to plan our 3rd, but I think it's been a very popular program with the public.
And you guys do what? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What were some of the drinks we did for the fall?
For the
we
fall,
matched the drink to some of the plants, right?
We had a port old fashioned, which had maple syrup in it, and so we showed off one of the maple trees, talked about how you harvest maple syrup from the trees. We had a persimmon drink. I'm not going to remember the name exactly, but then we had made some persimmon syrup out of the tree, plants we have out there. And then also we partnered with Tree Hive Meadery, which is a mead bar in Brockton, Illinois. And so we actually had some apple mead with one of our crabapple trees that we had. So we're trying to get some unique stuff out there that it's not the standard stuff that you would find at any old bar. So.
That's kind of, it matches the season. That's kind of cool.
Yes.
So January 23rd is the next one of those. You also do walks and tours out there as well all the time at Whiteside?
Yeah, of course. We sometimes, the first Saturday of the month during our open season, we have a tour just to show off what is blooming at the time. But then as the year goes on, in December, we're having a Cones and Berries tour. So we try to theme it for what's going on at the time. But yep, people can also schedule tours. If a specific group wants to come out, we can schedule programs like that for them. But then also we have public tours that anyone can come to. It's great for families. Kids are welcome. Adults, you don't have to know anything about the garden to see what is blooming at the time.
Okay. I know a lot of people know where Douglas-Hart is because it's been there. Whiteside's relatively different for some people around. Give us a direction if it's the easiest way to get to Whiteside Gardens.
It is 1 mile east of the Walmart in Charleston. Okay. So you'll see we actually got a new sign this summer.
Saw that, yeah.
Yes, it stands out now, so you can't miss us. Hopefully, as long we're on the right side of the road if you're heading east.
And Douglas-Hart's going to have something called a permaculture club. Talk about that.
Brand new club starting in the new year. So I think this kind of stemmed from Homestead and just talking to the networking with folks who are really into foraging and, again, growing your own foods. So the Permaculture Club is going to continue off of the Homestead Conference, and it's going to be once a month, led by our education team and a volunteer in the community. And it's going to teach you about wild edibles, foraging, and just off of those topics. And also, what are the legalities of foraging? Where can you, can't you? Yeah. So at Douglas-Hart, we, if we're using it for our own purposes and teaching, but typically we don't allow foraging. In a lot of public places, that's illegal. So also teaching where you can and cannot forage, and also what can you eat without giving yourself a little tummy ache.
But it's good to know. I mean, and there's a lot of series like that on a lot of things right now. The other thing is that I know volunteers are so important for the success of all of the foundation. So talk about the if people want to get involved and what volunteers do, and either of you can chime in.
Yeah, I will start, and Kennedi can definitely chime in. Whiteside, we have a new volunteer coordinator, Sky, who would love to hear from you. We have a volunteer page dedicated to all the different roles and calendar events, but really just ask yourself, well, how can I contribute to the organization? And I bet we can find a fit for you. So there's two ways to really get involved. You can view our volunteer calendar. Those are all public events that anybody can sign up for any time. If you're a student needing hours for Honor Society, or, it's work related, your work encourages you to get out into the community, or you just, hey, I want to give back to my community. View the calendar, look and see what's coming up, and you can just sign up for different events. For example, at Douglas-Hart, every Thursday, we have conservation crew that they're the ones going out improving habitat, removing invasives, working the trails. They also are good sports, and they'll help us set up with different events. And, even though that's kind of out of the realm of what they signed up to do, they know these events help offset our expenses and get the public out. So they're definitely willing to take that on as well. Even Friendship Garden, we have Friendship Garden work days during nicer weather, not the winter. Come out, rake leaves, help with garden beds. Kennedi has Whiteside Wednesdays every Wednesday.
Yep. So our Whiteside Wednesdays, we do a variety of different garden tasks. I try to post them on Facebook so people know what they're going to get their hands into before they come out. But we're taking a pause on that during the holidays. We'll be picking back up on that January 8th. But every Wednesday, and then also if someone is interested, we do an Adopt-A-Bed program. So if someone is particularly attached to a certain area of the garden, they can adopt that bed, and then that is theirs to take care of. And the best thing about that is they get to come out on their own schedule. So I know students, the normal 8 to 4 schedule doesn't always fit into their day-to-day lives, so they get to come on their own schedule, work in their bed, and I take you can be an experienced gardener or beginning gardeners. I will show you what you need to do. There's no messing up when it comes to that, and so that's a unique volunteer opportunity.
And Kennedi, when did you decide this is kind of like your career path? Were you always a plant and flower lover, or talk about that?
I was. It started out. My grandparents. I was forced to help in the gardens, and so you would have think that was going to traumatize me, but it didn't. Somehow, in my high school offered a horticulture program. So as a freshman in high school, I was like, I'm going to do this. I was going to work with flowers. I just didn't know how. And telling your parents you're going to work with flowers for the rest of your life makes them a little scared. So luckily I was able to find a career at the Douglas-Hart Foundation doing what I love. So that was when I knew.
Now, is it you wrote on your notes that you knew an unusual plants that are out there in the past year, or talk about what's kind of new there?
So Dr. Whiteside was the most amazing plant expert. He would rattle off the botanical name of every plant out there, and he knew everything. He was sharp as a whip, and it was all in his mind. And so, sadly, when he passed, some of the names were lost, but we're constantly rediscovering what names were. So they've always been out there, but we're rediscovering their names. And then the ones that we do know are out there, like we have citrus plants out there that would not normally grow in our area. We have banana trees. So there's lots of unique things out there that we get to pay attention to, but always rediscovering names that have been lost to time so that we can study them and show them off to people. So
when you find a new plant or when you didn't know that was out there, and so take us through the process of how you ID it, and does it need to be posted somewhere? How does that work?
Yeah, so it depends on the plant. Some of them I'm able to. All there's different forums. Just to give an example, there's National Daylily Societies, and they have lists of all of the varieties that have ever been registered, and so those are great for cross-referencing for different species. But then there are plants that stump us and stump even people that are even smarter than me are stumped, and so sometimes we've had to send pictures off to like the St. Louis Botanical Garden. So we have to send them to people that know even more in hopes of getting an ID done, and sometimes that even involves digging up pieces of the plant to send to them because pictures aren't enough sometimes. So there's all kinds of different ways that we have to positively ID because we don't want to be putting wrong tags.
Now, do you do that, Douglas, as well, then, Jennifer?
So not exactly. I will chime in more about Whiteside. The friends of Dr. Whiteside, before he passed, they did interviews with him, and we were able to collect a lot of information, but not
there's
of them.
thousands of
There's
plants
thousands
out there.
of plants. So we do actually have a master database of thousands of plants and when he planted them, how he obtained them.
That's what I wanted to find out.
Yes. So we do add to that. So now that our gardeners are kind of putting their own thumbprint on the garden, right? So they create new beds each year. For example, the cactus bed is fairly new. We will add to that database. So there is a digital collection forever. For retention and legacy purposes, we now have our complete plant list. Now at Douglas-Hart, we don't do that. It's more natural. We just kind of let things go as they should, right? What we do track is the removal of those invasive species. So we track what plants are here that should not be here. And so we track those so we can keep track of, are we making a dent? Are we getting rid of the things that shouldn't be here? And we obviously flag a lot of things like our oaks and hickories, things that we want to be there so we can track them coming in, especially the saplings, to make sure that we don't actually destroy them in the process of removing the bad things.
I understand.
Yeah.
And with Kennedi, is there a plant or a flower or something that you found out at Whiteside that is, I don't know what the proper word is, but it's like people were amazed that this thing was living here in Charleston, Illinois?
I would say, not that I found it, but the banana plants. The banana trees are always one that impress people when they just see the sheer size of them. We have a Dawn redwood tree out there, so whenever you tell people that they can see a redwood, it's not the exact ones that are growing out in California, but when you tell people that there is a redwood that you can see in Charleston, and they'll see different types of bamboo, how we would recommend people planting bamboo in their own yard. It can be a little bit of an aggressive plant, but you can see these plants that you normally wouldn't see just out in everyone's yard. So there's many different plants out there that people are always amazed to see and find out what they are.
One of the cool things about it is that people can become members of, just like WEIU has memberships that you have at Douglas-Hart and Whiteside. And we're coming up on the holidays. I didn't realize this today until you sent me the notes over the weekend, was that people can gift a membership to somebody who really enjoys the Whiteside and Douglas-Hart that may not be able to afford it. So talk about that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Memberships start at just $25, and it's for the entire year. Now, we have different levels with different perks, as with a lot of memberships, but you can purchase memberships in the visitor center or online, and there's a little spot that says gift to, and you can fill out their information. So I actually have several families or even grandparents that will gift memberships to their grandkids and things because they do so many programs and activities, because one of the biggest perks is discounts on our programs if you're a member. So if you're going to attend maybe more than 2 or 3 programs, it pays for itself. It's absolutely a perk. The other big perk is you are the first to register for summer camps. So being a member, you get first dibs, and that is a big incentive. Yes, absolutely.
Now, folks may remember that in the year 2022, it was holidays, right?
It was Christmas.
Douglas-Hart was hit with a flood that flooded the main offices and building there. And you've come out on the other side looking pretty good. But you are going to do another closure in January to do some more work. So talk about timelines so people know not to come and then what you're going to be doing during that work.
We are. So we have one last construction project. Everything else is back to normal with new bathrooms, new office spaces, new kitchen. So I appreciate everybody involved in that process to get us back up and running so quickly. But our main visitor center tile was damaged during that flood, which was running out the back door and the front door. And thank you again to the patron walking their dog that day that called us to say, I think you have water running out your door. So we were right on that just a few hours after it happened, but the damage, there's no stopping water. It's, an amazing force. So we are going to close for 2 weeks at the end of January, starting around the 18th of January till the beginning of February. We have to rip up that main tile in the main visitor center where the animals are, the bird viewing window. So it'll cut off access to the bathroom. So new tile in there, but we're going to use that opportunity to kind of revitalize some of our animal exhibit enclosures. So obviously, if you've been in there, we have a gecko and turtles and a salamander and the rabbits. So we want to just really look at their enclosures and follow best practices to maybe give them new aquariums or new spaces that they need. Yeah, give them a little update.
And the turtle is so photogenic. Look at him looking right at the camera if you're watching on the television version.
That's Wendell. He's famous. Wendell's pretty old, but yeah, Wendell is famous for actually climbing his enclosures.
Oh, really?
So his chicken wire on the edges. We had to put up a sign because he'll actually just climb up that enclosure. Never seen a box turtle do that, but we're like, no, it's perfectly fine. It's what he does. But that's a perfect example of, well, maybe we need to change his enclosure so he's not going vertical on a climbing wall.
Wendell's looking for something. There you go. Now, obviously, the fun part about there, if you go out there, is Dexter the cat, who's also become, world famous or famous here in Central Illinois or whatever you want to call it. And Dexter was there the day of the flood, if I recall. So tell us a quick story about that and what Dexter means to all the kids who come out.
Yeah. So if you don't know Dexter is a rescue kitty. So he is in an angel program where his owner had passed away and left him to the veterinarian. The veterinarian was wanted him to find a good home, and so we adopted him, and he is an indoor kitty. That way he's not messing with the wildlife or the birds outside. So he was there the flood day, and he was up on a desk just meowing his poor little heart out. He was fine. So he was my first priority. Is I got him, and then I checked on all the other animals. But we have people that purposely come into the visitor saying, "Where's Dexter? Where's Dexter?" And I'm sorry, he does like to nap during the day, y'all. Like, we can't nap, but he can certainly nap on the job, and sometimes he is napping. But he even got his own T-shirt last year. We sold quite a few of those, and people are like, "Are you gonna bring those Dexter shirts back?" So like, he's more famous than us for sure. So yeah, I will bring back the Dexter shirt for absolutely.
Who decides on the programs and the events at mainly the two main facilities, but even Friendship? Who decides that? And can the public bring you ideas?
We love public input, absolutely. I think that's kind of where the homesteading conference kind of stemmed from, is there wasn't that network here locally. Like, there's Facebook groups and things, but the nearest homeschool conference and programs were like 3 hours away from us. So we love suggestions. Our education director, Abby DeBurr, is in charge of coming up with these ideas, the programs, events. She is the mastermind, but it's a team effort. So we all kind of have our group meeting and we discuss. So Kennedi has Whiteside ideas for Whiteside that she's brought up. So it's definitely a great culture team effort to bring these events to life.
Anything you want to add on that one?
Yeah. So one of the new programs that we're going to be having out at Whiteside this February is we're going to be having our first Sweetheart Walk, which is going to be on Valentine's Day. And we're going to try to illuminate a part of the garden. It's going to be a short walk for you and your sweetheart to cuddle up next to each other while we take a quick spin around the garden before we end up inside with the fireplace and some hot cocoa for sale. So those are the type of programs that I try to bring to Abby to bring to life so that we can get more opportunities for people to get outside during all times of the year, just spend more time in nature. So that was one of the new programs coming next year.
The invasive species you guys have talked about, is there anything that people need to be on the lookout right now that's kind of causing problems, not just at the preserves or the center, but anywhere else in Coles County? Is there something that's bad out there right now? Anytime
I'm driving along the roadside, and if you're seeing things that are green right now, you might want to take a look at it, because I'm guessing it probably shouldn't be here. For example, on the way here, I could see the bush honeysuckle. It is still green on the roadside, and that has got to go. It's going to choke everything else out around it, not allow any of the good stuff to grow. That's always number one for us. And even at Whiteside, they have to deal with honeysuckle there as well. At the Nature Center in the spring, garlic mustard is a hot one for us, because once it goes to seed, we're talking thousands and thousands of seeds. Again, it's also at Whiteside. Yes, so we have a lot of the same ones, and you can chime in with some others.
Autumn olive has like the silverish looking leaves right now. They're still green, so it's almost a pretty plant, but before you know it, there will be thousands, and thousands of them aren't as pretty as maybe the one you let grow in your ditch right now. So that's another one that I would recommend moving, because the berries are edible, so some people want to leave them. However, the birds will spread those berries for you and plant however many they possibly can.
Speaking of birds and wildlife, we have a few minutes left today with Jennifer and Kennedi. Well, what can people, in terms of when they're outside walking around, in wildlife and birds, what do they see at Douglas-Hart?
At Douglas-Hart, it's your typical like Central Illinois woodland, lots of birds. We do a bird club and a bird walk, and the bird walk will keep track of the birds that they see on their walk and register those.
Birders, they're called, right?
Our
I
birders,
learned that, yeah.
yes. And we have over 160 different species
Holy
that have
cow.
been identified, yes, out at the Nature Center. So those records are valuable because we look at to see, are our habitat improvement projects working? Do we have the right habitat for them? So definitely lots of birds. But just this morning, one of our grounds people pulled out a leopard frog from the pond. Who sad to say, I'm like, you need to go hibernate for winter because it's going to be like 30 on Friday, like right now. So we relocated him to the larger pond so he could appropriately get ready for winter. But lots of amphibians, turtles, so many turtles down at the pond. One of the favorite activities is for people to grab the fish food from the visitor center, head down to the big pond to feed the fish, the geese, the turtles, when the season's right, of course. But raccoons, bats, possums, we've seen fox, coyote, and of course deer. We had a mom with 2 doe living on the property this year as well. So lots of wildlife to see. And even Whiteside has its own slew of wildlife.
Yes, I also had a doe with her fawn that I said she was dropping her fawn off for babysitting every morning with me. And then we both of the properties do bat monitoring, and didn't we have a river bat? Because the river's right next to Whiteside, so there was a pretty good unique bat caught on one of the monitors over the summer. So
yeah, we had an Indiana bat, which is an endangered bat that was caught on the monitor. So that's why we continue to monitor to see if we have these species.
We're about running out of time, but is there a favorite part of each of your jobs? Something you love to do the best?
I love all the dumpster fires that directors have to deal with.
I wouldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, it's the people properties. Like I absolutely love what I do. Working for a nonprofit, but the environment, nature is absolutely important to me. I have an amazing team and the culture that we have together.
Kennedi?
Yes, I love being outside is amazing. Even when it's cold out, you get used to the cold when you work out in it, and there's no such thing as bad weather, only inadequate clothing. So I really do enjoy being outside, and I love showing the garden off to people because you don't have to be a plant nerd to know that you're looking at something beautiful. You don't even need to know what it is.
If people have questions, Jennifer, what's the best way to get a hold of one of you two? Is it just Google it or what? Or email or phone number?
Yeah. On our website, dhnature.org is our phone number and emails, and you can reach out to us at any time. Any questions or comments? Absolutely.
And we're both, the Nature Center and Whiteside Garden have their own Facebook pages if you're on Facebook, and then there is an Instagram for all 3 of the properties.
All right, and then real quickly, could you tell us a little bit about how you got to Douglas-Hart? And we're around time probably.
How I got to Douglas-Hart. That's a long story.
All right, we'll get to that next time. I'm sorry, we're running out of time. I was trying to think of, we got her background, we didn't get yours as much.
It's been 15 years. Been there a long time.
There you go. Well, everybody have a great holiday season. Appreciate you both coming in today. We are WEIU.